Okay, students, today we're going to be dividing fractions by whole numbers. Now, when you divide a fraction by a whole number, you just have to remember that it's equivalent to multiplying times the reciprocal of the fraction created from the whole number. And any whole number can be written as a fraction. So 5 is the same as 5 over 1. So let's practice some of these. Okay, so let's practice. Let's say we have 1/4 divided by 8. Now, we have to have both set as fractions, so we'll rewrite it as 1/4 divided by 8 over 1. But in order to divide this, we have to find the reciprocal of 8 over 1, which is 1/8, and our division is going to change to multiplication. So then we have 1/4 times 1/8, and we just multiply the numerators. 1 times 1 is 1, and denominators, 4 times 8 is 32. Now let me show you how this works. So let me show you the model. Say we have this. So there's my 1/4. So here's my 1/4. But I have to divide it into 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Which means this part right here represents 1 out of 32. Because if I cut my 1/4 into 8 sections, all of these, if I counted every single one of these pieces, it would equal to 32. And I'm grabbing just one of them. So 1/4 divided by 8 is 1 over 32. Let's try another one. Let's do 1/3 divided by 6. Now remember, we have to change this into a fraction, which would be 6 over 1, but we have to find the reciprocal. We have to do the inverse, so we have to flip it. So 1/3, and if we flip, it'll be 1/6. And our division sign is going to turn into what? Good, multiplication. Then I just multiply straight across. 1 times 1, 1, and 3 times 6, 18. Good job. Now, let's prove it. Let's say I'm cutting into thirds, so it means all of this, but I have to cut it into 6, so this part right here shows 1/18, because if I count 1, 2, 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 18, all of these would be 18. So it's easy to see that 1/3 divided by 6, or divided into 6 parts, is going to give me 1/18. Let's try some word problems. Okay, it says Jacob has 1/7 bag of mulch. He wants to place the mulch equally around 5 trees in his backyard. So how much mulch will be around each tree? So we're going to start it off with our 1/7, and we're going to divide it by the number of trees. He's got 5 trees, so divided by 5. But remember, we want it to be fractions, so we're going to do 1/7, and we're going to do 5 over 1, but we have to do the reciprocal, so we'll do 1 over 5, and division sign is going to turn to multiplication sign. So we're going to multiply straight across like we normally do. 1 times 1 is 1, and 7 times 5 is 35. So he'll have 1/35 of the mulch around each of the 5 trees. Okay, let's try this word problem. It says Subway calculated that 1/3 total sales were generated by 16 small stores. So how much of the total sales was generated by each of the small stores? So I'm going to take my 1/3 of my total sales, and I'm going to divide it by the 16 stores. Now, I want to make sure 16 is a fraction, so it'll be 16 over 1. But in order for me to divide it, I find the reciprocal, which is going to be 1 over 16. Bring that back. I've got 1/3. And my division sign is not going to be division anymore. It's going to be multiplication. So 1/3 times the reciprocal, 1/16. Then I just multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. And 3 times 16 is... Now, if it's not one of the multiplication facts you automatically know, it's okay. Let's just work it out. What is 6 times 3? Good, 18. Let's regroup the 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Add 1 more. 4. So 48. So 1/48 is your answer. 1/3 divided by 16 is 1/48. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, this one says that the factory has a half a vat of ice cream. The ice cream will be divided equally into 40 ice cream containers. So how much will be in each container? Well, let's start it off. We've got 1/12, and we're going to divide it into 40. But remember, we want 40 to be in fractions, so that would be 40 over 1, but we have to do the reciprocal. So my reciprocal is going to be 1 over 40. I have 1/12 and 1 over 40, but what about my division sign? What do I have to do with that? Excellent. You remember it is going to turn to a multiplication sign. So then I'm just going to multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1, and we've got 12 times 40. And if you don't know what 12 times 40 is, that's fine. You can work it out. Let's do it over here on the side. Let's do it together. I've got 12 times 40. Now, what I know about multiplying by tens is I can pretend that zero's not here right now, and I can put it back in. So I'm going to pretend that my 0 isn't there, and I'm just going to do straight 12 times 4. Now, 4 and 2 is 8, and 4 times 1 is 4. Then I bring my 0 back. So 480. So my answer is 1 over 480. Let's do this one last one. Let's do 1/5 divided by 4. Now remember what our steps are. I'm going to leave my 1/5 the same. My 4, I have to think in my mind that that's 4 over 1, but I need the reciprocal. So I'm going to flip it to 1/4. Now 1/4, I'm going to bring it back over here. And my division sign, not going to be division. I'm going to turn that into, good, multiplication. So now, straight across, 1 times 1, 1. And 5 times 4 is 20. Good job, guys. 1/5 divided by 4 is 1/20. Now, one last time, let's prove that. So we have 1/5. Should be all of this colored, so 1/5. And then I'm going to divide my 1/5 by 4 to 4 sections. And my answer is this, right there. So that would be 1/20, because if I counted them all, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1/20 is my answer. Now another useful hint, tidbit, look at this. If I start off with any of my problems, starting off with fraction, I end with the fraction. Look at that. Here's another example. Another example. So on your STAR test, if you see your word problem and it starts with a fraction and you have to divide it by a whole number, your answer is always going to be a fraction. So you start with a fraction, divided by a whole number is going to give you a fraction. Just remember that and you're going to do great. Okay, guys. Okay, students. Now it's time for you to go have some fun with this math. So go have some fraction fun.